we are going to answer all of your farm life questions. So let's get started. Have you always wanted a farm like this? I think you're living the greatest dream, which is so inspiring. I had actually this vision when I was meditating before getting this house of living on a farm just like this, which is crazy. Had a picket fence around the house and had a bunch of animals. It was a dream, but I never thought it could be an actual reality, and so soon.
I actually never thought that I would get back to this way of life.
Did either of you have farm experience prior?
I was raised farming and ranching. We had every freaking livestock you could think of. The whole point of it is, you know, being an extremely self-sustainable like family, I guess, and that's one of the biggest benefits and perks of farming and ranching is you're incredibly self-sustaining. You don't need to depend on anyone else. That's kind of how my family ran things. We grow all of our own hay, and we would cut our hay, bale our hay, so we had plenty of hay to feed all our animals through the winter. We didn't have to buy nothing. You know, we always had food to eat, grew all our vegetables.
You hunted, and then I also visited them back in 2019, and they had a whole like building with refrigerators filled with deer meat and meat that they hunted that season.
We do all the processing.
By yourself?
All of us
Wow.
in the family.
Yeah, so to answer that question, I have zero farm experience. We grew up very differently, completely differently, but the reason why we're able to run this so smoothly is because he's had this experience in the past.
Well, and I wouldn't say it's been smooth. There's still a lot of trial and error going on, but that's
Always.
just how this game is.
Most surprising thing about owning and operating a farm: the tools necessary to have a farm and run it successfully. So, for example, when we first came here, the first thing he got was a pickup truck. And like I started to learn all of the reasons why he got things in order, but he got a pickup truck so he can pick up and start hauling a trailer. So that was the second thing you got. And then what's that for? Well, you got to haul your animals. All these things are huge upfront investments in the beginning, and I just had no idea. I had no idea. But then once you have it, you're kind of set for decades to go.
I mean, there's nothing surprising for me about it. I wasn't naive enough to come out here and think everything was going to be a smooth sailing breeze, because I've done this before. Like, I know how this game works. It's the moment that you think that you've got things figured out, you get a real hard reality check that you don't quite know what you're doing, and you gotta learn how to adjust, pivot. There's constant problems that need to be solved every single day.
Are you both able to leave the farm to go on vacation?
What I have here, this is a vacation every single day. I'd rather be out in the pasture stressed and chasing animals or fixing fences. Whenever we was wanting to go on that trip not so long ago anyways, you were like, well, the weather's gonna be great. It's gonna be really warm and sunny. It's like, well, it's really dang warm and sunny here too.
Yeah.
Timing wasn't really great. I'm having lambs right now, and you know, God forbid I'm gone in a different country or way far away and I'm having complications with lambs.
It wouldn't work.
You gotta be here.
And he'd rather stay here. So how we make it work is I still travel. As you guys know, I just was in Paris with my mom. I'm going to a Joe Dispenza retreat next week. I go back to LA once a month. So that's how it goes. Like I have outlets to enjoy the city life and travel still, and Nate holds down the fort. What is your long-term vision for the farm?
I mean, we're always in this rush to what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Why does it always have to be this long-term vision? I mean, we got animals out here. Maybe once the soil quality improves, I can grow some really good grass on the pasture, maybe run some cows. It's just taking it day by day, step by step.
Well, I could share my long-term vision, because one of the questions down here is, would you open your farm for visitation?
Oh, absolutely.
And that's absolutely what we would love to do. Like the moment we came here, I felt like I just wanted to share with the experience with everyone. And we've been doing that. We've got friends coming over all the time, resting up and just being present with nature. One day we will hope to open some sort of like wellness center here where people can stay and just check out of the city for a week and just experience this sort of self-sustaining lifestyle.
I think that what she's really experiencing and what I knew the experience would kind of be like, or what it would bring, is like reviving. We want to share that with people that we care about.
So eventually, yes, we'd love to do that. Is there anything you wish you did differently when you started the farm journey? So like our UTV is very important to us. He needs it to haul water to different pastures for the animals every day, twice a day, 3 times a day. And we first got one off Craigslist that was really cheap and it sounded great. But of course it like broke down within a week. And then we were out of it again and it was just a headache. And we're still dealing with that today, literally today. We were trying to get our other Polaris fixed, our UTV.
When we first started out getting some goats, I bought some nanny goats, some female goats that were already bred by another breeder. You know, you think that sounds like a great idea. You know, you're getting a 2-for-1 special, right? If I could go back, I would definitely not buy animals that are already bred by someone else. And definitely always opt for the most like well-established breeders. Like she said, you get what you pay for. Don't ever try to, you know, find deals on animals because you're just going to get sick animals.
There's a reason why they're on sale.
There's a reason. You know, getting these nanny goats that were already bred, not knowing exactly when they're going to have their babies and trying to eyeball it and figure it out, trying to figure out how many kid goats they are going to have. And it was not all that great.
We got them in October of last year, which is when we moved here, and they had kids in the freeze. So like during the coldest months when it was freezing cold was when they had newborns, and it was harder on us to manage because we had to make sure they were warm, kept in like a heated area, and so all these things could have been avoided if we just knew.
But you know what? These are some of the best lessons that you can learn, and we learned them all quick, fast, right off the bat.
Yeah. Is the farm your forever home? It's hard to look into that future that's so far away. Eventually, if this becomes a wellness center, we'd still be here. There is going to be like some more development coming around this area, so it will change obviously with time, and maybe at that point it's like, do we pick up and go? But this is all like 10-15 years from now maybe. Things change so much. I didn't even think I was going to move to a different state, and that happened. So
it's our home now.
It's our home now. Are you guys interested in regenerative ag?
Regenerative agriculture is geared around restoring the quality of the soil naturally. So when you think about the big time row crop farmers, they do monocropping, and what that means is they're planting the same crops in bulk every single year after year after year, where they're spraying pesticides and herbicides and all this crap. It's kind of damaging the soil, and who knows how much of it's actually contributing to this climate change and everything, but it's definitely not good for the environment. And it is a much better approach to restoring the natural soil quality, essentially, like I said, by doing things like selective grazing, like using sheep and goats or hogs, planting cover crops, and letting nature do its thing, like spreading compost around on the pasture, which I do. It's a very long and tedious process, but it's better in the long run. You get better quality food out of it, and your animals are restoring your land for you. So yes, we're very interested in regenerative agriculture.
Let's see, how did you guys decide on which animals to get?
All the animals have a purpose. They're not all just a bunch of pets. The chickens, obviously, they give us eggs every single day. So they're great to have around. Huxley, guardian dogs, they're not just pets. They have a very, very important job around here. So they guard the pastures. The donkeys are also just another means of guardians, and they have a deep hatred for wild dogs and coyotes. So they're
They'll kick
good.
'em.
They're good to keep out on the pasture just for a second means of protection. We pick the goats and the sheep as a combo for restoring the pasture. The goats go for more of the heavy, thick brush and everything, and then the sheep go for the grasses, and so they complement one another very well on regenerating the pastures. We wound up settling with the goats were actually primarily Nubians, purebred Nubians, which Nubians are dairy goats. So they make the best quality goat milk. It's very high in butterfat content, very tasty, very, very healthy for you as well. And so that's the purpose that those goats will serve for us in the future, is providing milk for us.
Are any of these animals for profit?
Well, of course. I've got a couple different avenues open now with the sheep. I've got a small partnership now selling purebred, full-blood, high-quality Dorper show sheep. There is also another avenue that's just become kind of popular, and that is in the solar farm grazing industry. So around the area, especially in California, now happening a little bit more around Austin, are these solar farms, large tracts of lands filled with solar panels. And the whole premise, the whole idea behind them is, green energy and whatnot. But, the grass and everything gets very overgrown and lush. And if it gets to the point where it's growing up over those solar panels, well, they can't collect sunlight anymore. And well, that's a problem. How do you solve that problem? You can't be they're a little bit too close. You can't get guys in there with weed eaters and mowers and bush hogs and everything, and not to mention that completely defeats the whole purpose of the green energy. You can't get cows in there. They're too big, they're too dang clumsy, they'll knock things over. Goats climb on stuff, they'll break the dang things. Sheep are literally perfect. So I've joined a network called the American Solar Grazers Association, and basically it pairs shepherds, grazers with the solar farm owners to pay us to bring our sheep out to graze their land and keep that grass down. It's a pretty cool little partnership. So that's
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. That's about the only profits, other than just I obviously sold my cows and made some good profit on that from the weight that they gained. That's about the only profits that we've made. Like she said earlier, farming and ranching is just a really good way to lose a lot of money. Really.
You don't see it back until generations later, I swear. How's Hux doing at his job? Huxley we got as a puppy. Primarily, his sole purpose is to protect the goats and the sheep. No, he is not allowed inside the house, and he stays outside. He lives with them. He's the vet.
For as young as he is really smart. He's very mature. Mm-hmm. He's developed a really, really tight bond with the goats and sheep. I'm really, really impressed with him. The contact that I got Huxley from is just this old school rancher that, his dogs are just wild out on the pasture, just surviving and thriving and protecting animals and killing coyotes. And so Huxley has just got that perfect upbringing for it. He's got 65 acres that he owns. He owns that land. He gets to walk it freely and piss all over every fence post he wants, and he owns that land. So he's very happy, and I'm really happy with how good he's doing.
What animals did you want next? I'm thinking piglets.
Pasture pigs would be the next area I would expand into. I don't think I'm in too big of a rush to get there. I'm still getting my ass kicked daily, learning things with this whole sheep thing, and I want to really make sure that I have everything locked down before I go throwing another species in here. But I'm really fascinated and intrigued by the benefits that some pigs could bring. They're a rooting machine. They would just turn over all the topsoil on the pastures, and their manure is just super, super great fertilizer. They just minimize so much waste. We have so much like compost scraps and stuff that goes in the trash. Like the goats and the sheep, they won't touch it, they won't eat it, but hogs will eat it up and put it to great use.
That's something surprising about learning about the farm, about how each animal has a specific purpose like that. This question I want you to answer because a lot of people want chickens, and the question is, how much work are chickens? I want eggs so bad. And we had chickens when we lived in the city. So it's possible, if you live in the city and you want chickens, you can have chickens. Actually, don't take my advice. You may run into legal problems.
You may get fined.
Yeah.
You may get fined like I did.
Check your city's stuff.
But
ordinances.
Chickens are they're incredibly easy creatures. I'll actually say this, chickens are incredibly difficult to kill, to let die. You would have to really mess things up to kill some chickens, honestly. Make sure you're very, very tight and secure. Their coop for night needs to be secure area. That's the number one thing. But their dietary requirements are not anything.
You feed them once a day, right?
Yeah, feed them once a day.
In the morning, and then the chickens are smart because where they sleep at night, where their coop is, they don't go far from that. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about them jumping over fence lines and leaving you. It's like they're gonna stay where they're being fed every day, and they're gonna stay where they're sleeping every night. And they're blind at night. So once they make their way into the coop at dusk, like they're in there for the night, and you can just close them in. And then when the sun comes up, you open it, and they come out themselves. They're so easy to manage. Highly recommend getting chickens. How often do the vets have to come out for maintenance on the farm animals?
In the past year, I think we've probably had the vet come out here about 5 times in total. And then we had to take a couple baby goats to the vet to get some plasma injections.
And that's twice. Because they had diarrhea and we weren't sure if they were going to make it.
Yeah, so seven total vet visits. It's not really...
Yeah, it's more so like the upkeep on the vaccinations for babies and for moms, and
the little onesies and twosies here and there we could do together, and we normally get into a total like bitch fit, fight, because we're trying to like hold an animal, corral an animal, and get an injection in them or something. It's stressful on the animal. It's stressful on us.
Will you be selling any farm products in the future?
I'd like to get a whole shit pile of chickens and have a bunch of chickens on the pasture and
that'd be so cool. Eggs. Yeah, like if you guys can buy eggs from us, maybe some grass-fed lamb eventually, like that'd be really cool. Because then you know exactly where they're coming from, your food is coming from, and how well we take care of our animals and everything.
But yes, we will be, this partnership with the Market Lamb, we will be selling products in the foreseeable future. Yes. So long as I get this coyote problem under control.
Yes. What are weekly, monthly expenses to run a farm? Feed all the animals, including dogs.
We just came out of a drought, and with that drought really increased the input costs for animals. So if there's no with the drought, no rain, there's no grass growing on the pastures. When there's grass growing on the pastures, generally you could take sheep, cattle, goats, whatever, toss them out on the pasture, put a little bit of minerals out there for them. Minerals are kind of like their supplements. With the drought, it really increased feed costs of both grain and having to buy bales of hay and put out on the pasture to feed the animals. So that's why rain is very important to farmers and ranchers. I mean, right now, since the pastures are good, I haven't really had to spend a whole heck of a lot of money just on loose minerals for the animals, and that's like $25 bag of loose minerals, and that'll last them about 2 months.
Chicken feed
went up a lot. I'd say I spend about $40 a month on chicken feed,
which is like nothing compared to how many eggs we get a day. We get like 8 eggs a day.
Like she said earlier, there's a lot of front end costs that go, like the fencing. Fencing materials is
You'd be
very,
shocked. Your jaw will be on the ground. Just having them run one sheep and goat panel, just along there, just one side, 10 grand. It's like, what? Well, those are all the questions you guys asked us. Thank you so much. This was fun. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Say it.
No.
Okay, bye guys.